The American dream was once a promise. If you worked hard, you'd build a life, a home, a family, and a future. But in 2025, that promise is gone. The dream has become a debt, and survival has replaced success. Families that once dreamed of white fences now live in cars, tents, and storage units. A one-bedroom apartment costs nearly $1,800. Millions earn less than half of what they'd need to afford it. Parents grind through 70-hour weeks just to keep food on the table, while billionaires double their wealth between lunch meetings. Medical bills over $80,000 are destroying families faster than any war ever could. This isn't poverty, it's betrayal. The richest nation on earth now looks like the one it used to pity. The vanishing middle class. The middle class, the identity millions once built their lives around, has quietly disappeared. In the 1970s, a home in Phoenix or Chicago cost 3 times the median income. In 2025, it's 9. In Los Angeles, the average home is worth over $900,000. Median income? $74,000. You don't need a calculator to know that math doesn't work. It's an equation designed for failure. Owning a home used to be a milestone. Now it's a sentence, a lifetime mortgage built on impossible interest rates. A generation ago, one income could support a family. Now, even 2 full-time workers can't qualify for a starter home. Rent, insurance, and utilities have all outpaced wages. The cost of simply existing has become unbearable. Americans aren't chasing dreams anymore. They're chasing due dates. Credit cards have become oxygen. Balances just hit $1.13 trillion, the highest in U.S. history. But this isn't reckless spending, it's survival. People are swiping to buy groceries, pay hospital bills, and keep the lights on. And when that debt compounds, it becomes another invisible tax, one the poor pay forever. This isn't capitalism, it's captivity. Meanwhile, the top 10% now hold 70% of all wealth. The bottom half? Less than 3%. The promise of work hard, move up has collapsed into a permanent underclass living paycheck to paycheck, living in storage units. Across America, a disturbing new housing model has emerged. People are paying rent to live in storage units. Spaces built for forgotten furniture are now shelter for the working poor. In cities like Las Vegas, Orlando, and Houston, people sleep in metal boxes with no plumbing, no heat, and no legal address. They work, they pay taxes, but they can't afford a place to live. In San Diego, a one-bedroom apartment costs $2,400 a month. To qualify, you'd need to earn nearly $100,000 a year. Median salary? $65,000. The math doesn't add up, so people improvise. They rent storage units, cars, RVs, not out of choice, but out of arithmetic. This isn't homelessness, it's structural exile. Investors own 40% of single-family rentals in some U.S. cities. Entire neighborhoods turned into spreadsheets where rent is dictated by Wall Street yield. Police ticket people for improper habitation, while city councils approve luxury condos that sit half-empty. The system would rather fine you for sleeping than fix why you have nowhere to go. When citizens begin paying thousands to live in storage lockers, it's not just economic hardship, it's the collapse of dignity itself. Housing has stopped being a right, it's a privilege, and survival has become a luxury product. The healthcare abyss. If housing bleeds you dry, healthcare finishes the job. The American healthcare system isn't a service anymore, it's a weapon. An ER visit costs $2,500 to $3,000. Without insurance, you could owe $10,000 or more for basic care. A 3-day hospital stay for pneumonia? $80,000. That's not medicine, that's extortion. Every year, over 530,000 families declare bankruptcy from medical bills, more than the population of Atlanta. They're not gambling or making bad choices, they're getting sick. In Canada, that same hospital stay costs nothing. In Vietnam, an ER visit might cost $7. Americans aren't paying for better outcomes, they're paying for permission to live. And here's the cruel twist. 60% of those bankruptcies happen to people with insurance. Premiums climb 8% a year, wages crawl 2%. Deductibles have tripled since 2010. You're paying for coverage you can't afford to use. Hospitals have merged into corporate chains. Pharma giants set prices without oversight. A vial of insulin costs $98 in the US and $12 in Germany. A cancer pill that costs $14,000 here sells for $1,200 abroad. This isn't innovation, it's monopoly, and it's killing people. The same companies profiting from rent hikes are invested in pharmaceutical stocks. The same politicians who promise reform take donations from both. It's one crisis disguised as two, a system designed to extract wealth until there's nothing left. When a nation forces people to choose between rent and insulin, it has crossed the line between civilization and collapse. The rural poverty trap. When cities became too expensive to survive, Americans fled to rural areas looking for freedom. But what they found wasn't freedom. It was abandonment. In states like West Virginia and Mississippi, entire counties have become economic ghost zones. No jobs, no hospitals, no future. Factories closed, mines gone, schools boarded up. What remains are rusting towns surviving on minimum wage service work. The illusion of cheap living hides a deeper poverty, one of infrastructure, opportunity, and access. In West Virginia, some counties report median incomes below $40,000. Hospitals have shut down, broadband barely exists. Over 180 rural hospitals have closed in the last decade. People drive hours just to reach emergency care. The result? Preventable deaths, untreated illnesses, communities fading into silence. This isn't a natural downturn. It's engineered neglect. The federal government pours billions into urban growth zones while rural regions rot. Corporations strip resources, coal, timber, energy, then leave. Small farmers sell their land just to survive. The American countryside has become a colony within its own borders, and policymakers still call it resilience. There's nothing resilient about driving 20 miles for drinkable water. America's rural heartland isn't failing. It's being left to die. The RV nation. When cities price you out and rural towns offer no escape, what's left? The open road. Across California, Nevada, and Florida, millions now live in cars, vans, and RVs. Not because they want to, but because they have to. Rest stops and parking lots have become the new suburbs of the working class. The vehicle that once symbolized freedom is now the last defense against homelessness. Over 3.2 million Americans now live vehicularly. That number has doubled in 5 years. Nurses, teachers, warehouse workers, people with jobs, sleeping in their cars. This isn't failure, it's forced adaptation. The government calls them transient. But they're the most stationary class in America, trapped between eviction laws and fuel prices. Cities fine people for sleeping in cars while approving luxury high-rises that sit half-empty. It's a system that criminalizes survival while celebrating vacancy. Even this last refuge is becoming unaffordable. Used RV prices have jumped 60% since 2019. Campgrounds that cost $25 now charge $100 a night. A functioning society builds homes for its citizens. A broken one builds parking restrictions. When families depend on Walmart parking lots instead of neighborhoods, decline has already turned into dysfunction. The economy of exhaustion. The modern American economy isn't built on productivity anymore. It's built on exhaustion. Millions clock 60 to 80 hours a week, not to get ahead but just to stay afloat. 2 jobs are the new minimum in Dallas, Charlotte, and Atlanta. The average essential worker earns $18 an hour. The cost of living exceeds $65,000 a year. Ambition has turned into survival labor. Burnout isn't a side effect. It's the business model. Corporate profits hit $2.8 trillion in 2024. Worker pay hasn't moved in 20 years. Productivity is up 70%. Wages? Barely 15%. That gap isn't an accident, it's design. The harder Americans work, the less they own. The more they produce, the deeper they sink. Technology promised to make life easier. Instead, it made work endless. Remote jobs turned homes into offices. Side hustles became second jobs. Freedom became fatigue. Mental health care is a luxury most can't afford. And rest itself, once a human right, has become unaffordable. The American economy no longer runs on innovation. It runs on exhaustion. The housing Hunger Games. Housing isn't shelter anymore. It's a tournament. Rent hikes of 40 to 70% since 2020 have turned cities like Austin, Denver, and Miami into financial battlefields. To rent a one-bedroom apartment at $1,800 a month, you need to prove $65,000 in income. Before you even touch the keys, you've spent nearly $7,000 in deposits, fees, and insurance. Meanwhile, 60% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. It's not a housing market. It's a financial filter, separating survival from eligibility. Behind it all, Wall Street owns the board. Firms like Blackstone and Invitation Homes have bought hundreds of thousands of houses. They're not renting homes, they're trading them. Neighborhoods turned into portfolios. Communities turned into balance sheets. And while corporate landlords report record profits, families sleep in vans a few blocks away. This isn't a housing crisis. It's a quiet coup, ownership stolen and rented back to the people who built it. The lost generation. For young Americans, the dream is already over. They're not lazy, they're locked out. In 1990, the average home cost 4 times the median income. Today, it's 9. In Boston, the median home price is $770,000. The average millennial earns under $65,000. Even saving 10% a year, it would take over a decade to afford a down payment if prices didn't rise another cent. Education was supposed to be the ladder out. Instead, it became the anchor holding them down. $1.7 trillion in student debt has turned college into a lifelong bill. The system said, go to school, get ahead, then build them into submission. Even families earning $120,000 in some cities now qualify as low income. The middle class hasn't shrunk. It's been erased from the entry requirements of modern life. This generation doesn't believe in ownership. They don't see stability. They don't see a future. And when a society's youth stop believing in mobility, collapse isn't coming. It's already here. The working homeless. When full-time workers sleep in cars, the illusion of prosperity has ended. Across the U.S., tens of thousands of employees clock in by day and sleep in parking lots by night. More than 12 million households spend over half their income on rent. In Los Angeles, someone earning $25 an hour would need to work 82 hours a week to afford a one-bedroom apartment. The system isn't failing. It's functioning exactly as designed, funneling wealth upward, trapping labor below. Poverty isn't a condition anymore. It's a subscription. Wages stagnate, inflation devours paychecks. Credit card debt fills the gap. Full-time workers are hired as temps. Insurance is tied to jobs. Lose your job, lose your doctor. The economy has mastered the illusion of functionality, a machine that rewards effort with exhaustion. Millions working endlessly, owning nothing. When housing, healthcare, and labor collapse together, homelessness isn't an accident. It's an outcome. The working homeless aren't the exception. They're the forecast. The collapse. America's decline didn't arrive with a bang. It came disguised as normal life. Rising bills, shrinking paychecks, fading hope. The middle class dissolved, the poor were criminalized, and survival became a business. This isn't an economic cycle. It's the dismantling of a nation from within. When citizens work harder but live worse, when homes become investments and people become debt, collapse isn't coming. It's already here. The question now isn't can America recover, it's does it even want to? Because revolutions don't begin with fire. They begin with hunger.